and in case I don't see you, good afternoon, good evening, and good night.
Okay, hear me out. When Truman Burbank walked out of that door, he didn't live happily ever after. He broke. He entered a world he didn't understand. A world where people were mean, where relationships were messy, and where nobody watched him anymore. He couldn't handle reality. So he changed his name. He developed a lisp to disguise his voice. And he took a job that gave him control over the only thing he truly loved: the television. The Cable Guy isn't a dark comedy. It is a psychological horror movie about Truman Burbank suffering a total mental collapse and trying to turn his new neighbor into his co-star. In 1998, Jim Carrey played the most innocent man in the world, a man raised inside a simulation. In 1996, Jim Carrey played a sociopath raised by television. The timelines seem backward, but the character arc is a straight line. One is the cause, the other is the effect. Today, I'm going to prove to you that Chip Douglas is just Truman Burbank after 5 years of PTSD and a lot of cable television. Let's start with the psychology. Truman lived in a PG-rated 1950s sitcom world. No crime, no swearing. Everything resolved in 30 minutes. When he steps into the real world, our world, what happens? Culture shock. Chip Douglas has zero social skills. He doesn't understand personal space. He doesn't understand boundaries. Why? Because in Truman's world, everyone was his friend. Everyone stopped to talk to him. He was the center of the universe. Chip acts like he's the main character because for 30 years he was. He thinks that if he walks into a room, people should pay attention to him. When they don't, he gets aggressive. He forces the interaction. He is desperate to reclaim that feeling of being the star. Who is Chip Douglas? In the movie, he admits it's a fake name.
It's Ernie Douglas, but my friends call me Chip.
He names himself after TV characters, the Douglases, the Bradys. Why? Because he has no real identity. Truman Burbank was a copyrighted name owned by the Omnicom Corporation. When he left the show, he likely lost the rights to his own name, or he hated it because it was a brand. So he built a new identity out of the only history he knew. Reruns. He is a man made of static. He mimics what he saw on the screens inside the dome because he has no concept of a real family history. This is the darkest part of the transformation. Truman was the victim of surveillance. He was watched 24/7 by Christoph, the man in the moon. Psychology tells us that victims of severe trauma sometimes identify with the aggressor to regain control. Chip doesn't just want to watch TV, he wants to be the director. Look at Chip's setup. He isn't just installing cable. He's bugging Steven's apartment. He watches and spies on Steven. This is a recreation of the Luna Room. Chip is playing God. He is doing to Steven exactly what Christoph did to him. He creates scenarios. He manipulates Steven's relationships. He controls the environment. Truman Burbank realized that the only way to feel safe was to be the one holding the camera. He became the very monster he escaped. Why become a cable guy? It gives him the keys to the kingdom. Chip controls the signal. He decides what you watch. He decides if your phone works. He decides if you are connected. It is the ultimate power move. He gives free cable to people he likes, bribing them for friendship, and cuts off people he hates. He uses technology to curate reality. And speaking of curating reality, you need to juice up your feed by hitting that subscribe button. Don't let the algorithm cut your signal. This brings us to the victim, Stephen Kovacs, Matthew Broderick. Chip doesn't want a friend, he wants a co-star. Look at how Chip manipulates Steven's life. He engineers a breakup, then he engineers a makeup. He creates drama, he creates plot points. Chip isn't living life, he is showrunning Steven's life. He treats Steven like the straight man in a buddy comedy.
Friends aren't supposed to speak to each other like that.
That isn't a request. That's a casting decision. Truman spent his whole life with a best friend, Marlon, who was paid to be there. Chip assumes that in the real world, friendship is also transactional. I gave you free movie channels. Now you have to deliver your lines. There is a heartbreaking monologue in The Cable Guy that reveals the origin of the madness. He says his mother left him alone and TV raised him. Now look at The Truman Show. Truman's mother was an actress. She didn't love him. She was doing a job. When the cameras cut, she went home. Truman was raised by TV. He was raised for TV. The babysitter line is a metaphor. The camera was his parent. The audience was his family. When Chip screams about pop culture, he isn't being funny. He is quoting scripture. He is reciting the only religious text he was ever given inside the dome. One of the most famous scenes is the karaoke party. Chip sings Jefferson Airplane's "Somebody to Love." This isn't just a guy having fun. This is a desperate, manic plea for validation. Look at his eyes. He scans the room. He needs them to look at him. Truman was the most famous face on Earth. Now he is nobody. When he grabs that microphone, he's trying to feel that broadcast high again. He creates a spectacle because silence terrifies him. If the audience isn't watching, does he even exist? He sings "Somebody to Love" because he has never known real love, only the simulated love of a billion viewers. Then the genre shifts. We get the jousting at medieval times. Chip treats this like a life or death battle. He creates a spectacle. Why? Because Truman understands that every good season needs an action episode. The ratings were dropping. The buddy comedy arc was getting stale. So Chip decided it was time for a fight scene. He forces Steven to fight him because he believes that high-stakes drama bonds characters together. He is trying to recreate the storm at the end of The Truman Show, a moment of peril that defines the hero. Except Steven isn't a hero. He's just an architect who wants to eat his chicken. Let's talk about the lisp. Truman had a clear, broadcast-ready voice. Chip has a severe, slushy lisp. Why? Two theories. The injury. Truman survived a massive storm and a boat crash. Maybe he suffered brain damage or nerve damage that affected his speech. The disguise. Truman is the most recognizable face on the planet. He can't walk down the street without being mobbed. So he adopts a character. He creates Chip. He changes his voice. He creates a speech impediment to hide the TV star voice. It's a method acting technique to stay anonymous. But over time, the mask stuck to the face. He forgot how to speak like Truman. How do we get from the dome to the dish? 1998, The Escape. Truman leaves the dome. The show ends. The world cheers. 1999, The Fallout. Truman tries to live in the real world, Los Angeles. He is stalked by paparazzi. He realizes he has no skills, no education, and no legal identity. He sues the studio, but the litigation drags on. 2000, The Breakdown. Truman snaps. He disappears. He legally changes his name to Chip Douglas, a generic TV name. He takes a blue-collar job to become invisible. 2001 to 2002, The Relapse. Isolated and lonely, Chip begins to crave the connection he had in the dome. He starts interfering in his customers' lives, trying to recreate the perfect community of Sea Haven. 2003, The Cable Guy. He meets Steven Kovacs. He decides Steven is the perfect replacement for Marlon. The obsession begins. There is a moment where Chip predicts the future with terrifying accuracy.
The future is now! Soon every American home will integrate their television, phone, and computer. You'll be able to visit the lube on one channel or watch female mud wrestling on another. You can do your shopping at home or play Mortal Kombat with a friend in Vietnam. There's no end to the possibility.
How does a weird cable guy know about the future of the internet and streaming in 1996? Because he knows the trajectory of surveillance. Truman lived the future. He lived in a world where every moment was broadcast. He knows that humanity is addicted to voyeurism. He knows that eventually everyone will want to be Truman. Everyone will want to broadcast their lives. Social media / streaming. He isn't guessing. He is warning us. He is the canary in the coal mine telling us that the dome is about to expand to cover the whole world. Finally, the ending. Chip climbs the giant satellite dish. He fights Steven, and then he lets go. Why does he jump? Because he realizes he can't fix himself. He realizes the world is just another TV show. But look at where he lands. He lands on the transmitter. He knocks out the signal. This is Truman's final act of rebellion. In the Truman Show, he walked out the door to stop the show. In The Cable Guy, he dies to kill the signal for everyone else. He sacrificed himself to give the world a moment of silence, to force people to look away from the screen and look at each other. So, when you watch The Cable Guy, don't laugh at the funny lisp.
My lisp is gone! You stupid son of a...
You are watching a man suffering from profound developmental trauma. You are watching an orphan trying to force a family into existence using the only language he speaks. Sitcom tropes. And that grin, that isn't for the pilot. That's for us, the audience, the people who watched him sleep for 30 years. He knows we're still watching, and he put on one hell of a show. I'm tweeting at Jim Carrey. Ask him if Chip Douglas has a sailboat named the Santa Maria.
Good afternoon, good evening, and good night.